Whoa, what's good, people? It's your boy Q, aka Itch, back with a brand new episode, Locker Room Sports Talk Radio Media. Today I got a special guest with me, my boy Coach O, Omari Robertson, wide receiver coach at Edna Karr. What's good with you?
I'm good. I'm blessed to be here.
Righteous, man. It's been a long time coming. Trying to get my boy in here, finally in the building, under some crazy circumstances, but late time better than no time. So what's going on with you today?
Nothing much. Just trying to make it like everybody else out here.
Right.
That's pretty much it.
So I'm just jump straight into it. Like I said, he's one of the he's one on the coaching staff at Edna Karr, coaching the wide receivers. And if anybody knows anything about high school football in South Louisiana, you know Edna Karr is a perennial powerhouse. They've been in the state championship game 9 of the past 10 years. They've won the past 4 in a row, 5 of the past 7, I believe, something like that. Yeah, so these guys on an impressive run. And what a lot of people don't really realize is that the majority of their coaching staff, if not all, correct me if I'm wrong, but the majority of y'all coaching staff are Edna Karr alumni. So that kind of, all coaching staffs have to have some kind of close-knit brotherhood, but, with all those guys matriculating through that program at one point or another, that makes their bond like that much stronger. So
Right. I played for Coach Brace.
Wow.
I played for Coach Brace from 2006 to 2009.
Okay.
That was like his first 3 years coaching.
Right.
So I was coached by him, Norman Randall. Started coaching at Karr my senior year.
Okay.
Brennan Harris, Jared Jones, the defensive back coach. And then I played with some of the coaches that are coaching.
Right now.
Shaquille Smith, who is the safeties coach. I played with Dwayne Mitchell, who is the defensive end coach.
Okay.
We got a nice family.
Yeah. And like I was saying earlier, with these guys being so invested into the success of the program, I personally think that kind of helps breed that winning culture that Karr is. So kind of expound on what goes into y'all putting that into those guys' psyche or their mental frame.
I think it's something that when you walk in the building, it just hits you. You walk in the front doors and you got the trophy case going down with countless amounts of trophies from the 70s all the way up to today. So if you come in the Karr to play any sport, football, basketball, track, boys or girls, I believe that it's already embedded in the walls. Mm-hmm. So it's either you get with the program or you're not going to be able to have the success that other kids have coming through that program. So it's really a makeup of the coaching style and just the history and tradition that goes into being an Edna Karr Cougar.
Okay, and like you said, it goes into the tradition and the history. So, like you said, Karr has been known to be, pretty prominent in multiple sports, from, of course, football to, boys and girls track to baseball and other sports. So kind of, outside of football, how is the culture of, with the alumni base at the school? Like how active are they?
Very. Once a Cougar, always a Cougar.
Okay.
So they, I'm gonna say from when I was playing, I always had people to look up to that would come home during the off season to work out, to help coach or just different things. So the alumni base is very strong, and you could see it any Friday, Thursday, or Saturday night at the game.
Definitely. Like, I cover high school football for Pelican Preps, and, through the past 2 or 3 football seasons, I've been to a number of Karr football games, and, like, the atmosphere at a Karr game is, I don't want to be cheesy and, like, munch off your motto, but it's really second to none. Like, it's no environment like I'm a St. Aug guy. I went to St. Aug, so, like, I'm obviously biased towards St. Aug, but outside of that, like it's no environment like being in what y'all call the jungle, right?
The jungle,
yeah.
Brahma Stadium.
There's no environment like being in the jungle on a Friday night during the fall football season. So kind of, you know, expounding on that, everything going on with COVID-19 and whatnot, there's so much in the air as far as, you know, will there actually be football this season, or, you know, if there is, you know, will there be football played with no fans in the stands? So as far as that front, like, what are some of the things you're hearing right now as far as, like, I know it's nothing confirmed, but, like, what are some of the things, like, you guys are kind of preparing for as far as the fall season?
We're preparing for a myriad of anything, really. There being fans in the stands, or a limited amount of fans in the stands, or no fans in the stands.
That'll be crazy.
That'll shock a lot of people. I know they did it for basketball for the championships at McNeese.
Yeah, they did.
And I know it looked weird looking at it online.
Definitely.
So it'll probably feel that way if that happens to football in the fall, because, you know, we got a big schedule. That's a pretty good schedule that we got coming up.
You guys are playing on the school from Florida, right? Patrick Surtain School.
Right, American
Heritage, who they're nationally ranked year after year. They produce a lot of, you know, top elite recruits. So it's called in Louisiana, but
and Pat is an alum.
Right, he's an Edna Karr alum. I know that you guys have been trying to get that game together for a couple of years now, maybe like the better part of the past 5 or 6 years, and now it's finally coming to fruition. And that game's going to be here in New Orleans, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It'll be here in New Orleans, either at Tag Gomez or Tulane Stadium.
Oh wow, that's going to be big. Like, even if there aren't fans in the stands, that's going to be a real big game. Right. So, like, you know, I know Coach Pat's really excited about playing this alma mater and coming back home and showing people, you know, the product he's put out down in South Florida. You know, they're pretty prevalent down in that neck of the woods for, you know, having real prevalent football as well. So that should be an exciting matchup, man. Right. You know, Carl don't have like a short, well, not like, but Carl don't have a shortage of prospects either. You know, you guys have what, like Destin Payson. He's one of the top 10 players in Louisiana for the upcoming cycle. I've been trying to get my hands on him, like talk to him, interview him, but he's pretty hard to reach. But I know he's real busy. You guys also have guys like Kenneth Bannister,
Aaron Anderson.
Aaron Anderson. He's one of the dude. He I can't even describe like watching that dude play. Like it's something special. Right. Not to say those other guys aren't, but like
he's different.
Yeah,
he's different. Yeah. You know, I started my coaching career at Carver, and I was blessed to be able to coach Linares L. Page Jr. as a freshman. And I tell parents a lot of times, they come in there as well. You know, my son is in 8th grade. He's coming to high school. You know, he's got good skills, so, you know, he should be able to play right away. It just doesn't happen like that.
Yeah, typically it doesn't.
Right. Linares L. Page Jr. and Aaron Anderson were 2 players that played for me that were able to play as freshmen, as 14, 15-year-old kids on the varsity level, and have some great productivity as freshmen.
Right.
And that doesn't happen with every kid.
Especially here in Louisiana. Right. Like, I remember, and like you said, Linares L. Page Jr., I remember a few weeks back, I made a football list of like the top high school football players I ever seen in person in my life, and I had his daddy at the top of the list. And like you said, when I finally saw, you know, Junior play, I was like, man, like this dude, he's basically a spitting image of his dad. But I was saying he has the potential to be better because, you know, when Big Linares played at Carver, he was pretty much doing everything. You know, quarterback, running back, receiver, DB, kick return, like you name it. But like Lil Neris, he just basically focuses at receiver. And not to like really get too much off track, but like you said, Aaron Anderson, he's kind of cut from the same cloth. Like when I seen that guy play as a freshman, it was just like, whoa, like
speed,
yeah,
route running, kick return ability, punting, anything you name. As a freshman, we played JV against St. Aug. We put him at quarterback and just let him run the whole time, and it was like watching a speed and all or something back there, quarterback. But this was JV. Exactly. So he's electrifying, and he's only going into his junior year.
Into his junior season. I know he has quite a couple of offers, like from Miami, host of other schools are looking at him. Pretty much a blue list chip of colleges around the country looking at him. I remember the first time I ever seen him play was his freshman year in a rivalry game, Edna Karr against Landry Walker. I think at that point you might have still been coaching at Carr.
No, I was at Carr.
You was at Carr. That was your first year at Carr. Okay, but yeah, his freshman year, yeah, that was your first year coaching at Carr. But the first time I seen him play was against Landry Walker, like a rivalry game, battle of edges. Dude took the opening kickoff and was
60.
yeah, like just brought it to the house, and it was like it was nothing. Like the whole crowd going bananas. He just looking around like
I've been doing.
yeah, like this regular to me. So it's like I can't wait to see him and Destin play, side by side at least one more year, because I know Destin going to his senior year,
Right.
Aaron going into his junior year. So but like you say, since you've been at Carr, you've coached a lot of top notch receivers. Like just besides from Destin and Aaron, you coached quite a few other people. So I know what's the guy named K for Ace, his Twitter name. I can't think of his whole name. Just graduated. He was number 4 last year.
Yeah, you talking about California?
Yeah, California. Yeah. The other gentleman who won the most outstanding player in the state championship game last year.
Jahai Howard.
Yeah.
Darlin Hill.
I like
Michael
watching.
Corner.
Yeah.
It was good coming into my first year at Carr and having a depth like that at receiver. We had 6 seniors my first year on the staff.
I remember that.
At receiver, and all of them were able to contribute. And then at that time, Destin Payson was a sophomore.
Right.
Destin Payson, Aaron Anderson was a freshman, and then we had Larry Jr. We had just a number of receivers who were able to go in there. Danye Brooks was able to start for us. So every week the depth chart could change because we had depth to
that
go
much,
in.
yeah, that much quality,
Right.
that many people, and
Right.
as you count these names of like some of the big plays they made over the past year and a half, 2 years, like coming back to me. Like I remember, Michael Corner making a not toe tap, but like a catch in the back of the end zone against Carver one year, and like you said, Jahai Howard. I remember him making like a toe tap catch in the dome in the state championship when Eastern like kind of pulled in and made it within the touchdown, and he went right back downfield and he scored the game with a touchdown. Yeah, so it's like these guys, like y'all have been producing, like top level receivers for years.
And it's been before me too. Before
Yeah.
I got there, you had Racy McMath,
Right.
you had Dejon Dixon, Warren Newman, just a lot of guys in this era.
Right. That in the past, just in the past, like
Right.
7, 8 years,
4 or 5 years that have gone on to star in college or just go to college
Right.
and play football from the receiver standpoint. And it's been since I was in high school.
And that's what been like
10.
Yeah, 10 years.
10 years we've been producing top-notch talent at the receiver position, and
Pretty much all over the field,
Right.
basically. Because I know,
quarterback,
right.
starting with Munchie Lego, all the way down to Leonard Kelly.
Right. And like you said, in between all those guys, I remember my first year covering high school football. It was Skylar Perry, and that might have been his first year playing varsity football. And at the time, he was a raw prospect. And from that, he ended up going to Arkansas Pine Bluff and taking over the starting job as a freshman year. And he's on pace to pretty much break every quarterback record at that school's history, which is, to say that HBCU, both of us come from the SWAC. You went to Southern Alabama State, so like just, with the SWAC being a historical conference, producing the likes of, Steve McNair and Jerry Rice,
Walter Payton,
yeah, all those type of greats, and
Aeneas Williams, from
right.
Southern. So it's a lot.
Michael Strahan from Texas Southern, and when Skylar Perry's career is done, he might go down as one of the all-time greats in that school's history, and coincidentally, he'll be one of the better players in the SWAC history, based on when you line up people from each school, like when you name Arkansas Pine Bluff, his name gonna pop up at the top of the list.
Right.
And you know, over the years, you know, people always say, and this is kind of funny to me. Like I don't want to sound negative, and I don't have this feeling, but a lot of people always say that, you know, they kind of compare Carr to John Curtis in a sense, where they say, you know, they always produce great teams, but you know, what's up with the talent? Like when these guys graduate, like where did they go? And I'm like, are you serious? Like you said, like you guys produce the likes of, you know, Munchie Legos, Skylar Perry's, Speedy Noah's, Gerald Willis's, Noah Ellis Jr.'s, like all. So I'm like, dude, like these guys have constantly been producing talent, like, you know, for years and years. Like,
you know, a lot of people, not to cut you off, a lot of people say that, well, you know, Carr is this, Carr is that. They produce all these All-Americans, but they don't do anything after they leave Carr. They go to college and then they don't pan out, things like that. I see it differently. One of my teammates, Jordan Sullen, has been starting this conversation on Twitter called Carr League, where he is trying to put a light on Carr football alum who are doing things other than football. You know, football at some point is going to
it's going to end. Yeah.
You know, so what are we doing to be successful and great men? That was one thing that Coach Jaluk always would preach to us. It wasn't just about football, it was about becoming a better father, a future father, or a better husband to your wife, or just an all-around man, period.
Right.
So a lot of us are doing great things. Noel Ellis Jr. is coaching at Carr.
Right.
Munchie is the OC at Warren Easton. Jordan Sullen is out in Atlanta with his personal training. It's a lot of people that graduate that are doing positive things in the community outside of football right. As adults now. We use football as a way to get to college.
I'm glad you said that.
Play football in college, get our degrees, and now we're doing other things.
Right. So, you know, outside of coaching, you know, you want to talk about some of the things like you're doing in the community yourself, or?
Mainly just trying to make sure that these young men are successful. No matter if it was when I was coaching at Carver or now that I'm at Carr, building these relationships and keeping them way beyond football.
Right.
I think that's the key to being a successful coach. Being able to hold on to these relationships that you create with these young men for years to come, and hopefully that you've impacted them in their lives in a way that the coaches impacted mine, so they could one day follow in my footsteps. If you would have told me 11 years ago as a senior at Carr I'd be coaching, I would have been like, no way. That wasn't even in my thought process.
It's crazy how life plays out, right?
Yeah, I mean, injury happens. My senior year at Southern, go on and start being a grad assistant coach. Not even thinking that I would enjoy it,
right? But
ended up enjoying it, and that led to me wanting to become a coach full time.
Right.
So you just never know why things are put in place the way they are.
And things happen the way they do, right?
And then eventually they start showing why this happened to you at this point in your life to get you the way you are now. Okay. So I think that's a big thing. That's a big step. And for all the young men out there that are listening, you know, don't skip steps. Don't skip steps in your process. It's cliche. I hate it. Trust the process. I hate that, but you really have to.
But it's true though. Like I hate sounding, you know, cliche and cheesy, but as I've gotten older, I've figured out that a lot of these, you know, cliche, you know, I guess not meanings, but like cliche sayings, like they hold some value in it, you know. Right. So it's pretty crazy. And like you said, you mentioned that you played football at Southern 4 years, so Being now, you've been a part of some great rivalries in the SWAC. Southern against Jackson State, Southern against Grambling, all that. So Alcorn, like just all-time classic rivalries in the SWAC. So kind of talk about your experience just on the field and just memories of having fun at Southern University, because that's one of the premier universities that people from New Orleans matriculate to. So it's real popular. So I'm pretty sure people out there want to hear about some of the stories.
I loved every bit of my experience at Southern. I was blessed to be able to be coached by Pete Richardson.
Yeah.
Legendary coach. My freshman year, which was an awesome experience just to be able to say that I was
coached by
Pete.
Yeah.
Coach Dooley, who was the head coach at
Prairie View. PV.
Was my receiver coach at that time.
Four-share alum, right?
Right.
Right.
Just beautiful experience. Going all the way through, I went through the Stump Mitchell phase, where we went 2-9, and then 2 years later we won the SWAC championship.
That was that the year where y'all played in Houston against Jackson State and the dual
ball
out of bounds. People still talk about that play to this day. Like I be on Twitter and like every couple of weeks or so I see somebody retweet that play. Like it's crazy. Like that probably was like one of the all-time craziest plays I ever saw in SWAC history. So,
but not only football though, the whole being on the yard was enjoyable. Football, you had football, and you had your life between practice, being able to go to the union.
Yeah.
I made lifelong friends.
Right.
Met my girlfriend at Southern. Was able to play as Kappa at Southern. So it was just the whole HBCU experience that was lovely. And I would tell anybody who is being recruited by black colleges that don't overlook them.
Please.
Don't overlook them, because they're going to give you an opportunity to go to school for free.
Right.
You're going to play quality football. You're going to enjoy your time. And you never know who's watching. There's countless of guys that go pro every year that go to historically black colleges.
Right.
So if you can ball, they're going to come and find you.
We had a guy from our school, from Alabama State, 2 years ago that went in the first round in the NFL. From Alabama State. So like you said, you never know who's watching. And like you were saying, like getting back to like the whole experience of even outside of just being on the football field. Like I said, I'm from New Orleans myself, and I ended up going to Alabama State, but even as a teenager, I've heard about, like the Pretty Wednesdays were like real legendary. Like it's stuff, they were talking about Pretty Wednesdays like back when I was in high school, and that was like maybe 15, 16 years ago, and that's still going on now.
Still going
strong. Like so
it's lovely. Pretty Wednesday, you got your DJ at the union. You don't even want to go to class.
Yeah.
You don't even.
I remember those days.
Everybody at the union congregating. It's beautiful.
It's a lovely experience.
It's beautiful. But college in itself is a beautiful experience. So it's definitely a blessing if you're able to go, and especially if you're able to go for free.
Exactly.
And ball at the same time.
Exactly.
It's lovely.
You can't ask for much more. And like you said, a lot of kids they get offered by HBCUs, not even just HBCUs, just other schools at the FCS level, or even Division II, Division III, NAIA schools, and they think that it's beneath them. But I never quite understood why you would pass up an opportunity to play football for free and get an education. So
when I was in high school, going into my senior year, I took Coach Skip, who at that time was the head coach at Old Perry Walker.
Yeah, Skip Lamont.
Took me with him and a couple other boys from Walker to camp at Nichols. And I remember him telling us, it doesn't matter where you go, you get in where you fit in.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody's not meant to play for LSU.
Right.
Everybody's not meant to play at Alabama. Everybody's not meant to play for Southern, Grambling, Alabama State. But there's a school out there, there are thousands of schools out here with football. You get in where you fit in. If you fit at Nichols State, that's where you play. If you fit in at LSU, go. But as long as you have the opportunity, that's what counts, and you make the most of that opportunity.
And I'm glad you said that, because that brings an example to my head. You know, the little kid Lindsey Scott from Zachary.
Mm-hmm.
You know, coming out of high school, you know, he was the Gatorade Louisiana Player of the Year. Ended up going to LSU. You know, he determined, hey, like, it's not my fit. Like, you know, it's not for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, transferred out. Ended up going to, I think,
he went to East Mississippi.
yeah, right. He went to junior college.
And then he ended up getting
going to Missouri. Right. Went to Missouri last year. Ended up not playing, and now coincidentally he's at nickel. So like you said, you know, you get in where you fit in, man. You know, going into this season, presumably he'll be the starter, and you know that should be a prime example of, you know, just following your journey and find somebody that fits you.
It's not only him though. You got countless guys that go Division I. Even if you have that Division I talent, it doesn't mean that you should go to LSU because they offered you.
Right.
You got to look at a whole bunch of things. There's a whole lot of things that you have to look at when you're being recruited. You have to look at, first of all, do they have the major that you want to major in? Secondly, you have to look at the depth chart. There's nothing wrong with going and competing. I'm all with going to a place and competing. But if you're going to a school where they already have 12 receivers, you're not going there as a freshman and just saying I'm starting as a freshman. You're going there to compete against guys that are already there, who aren't trying to let a freshman come in and take their spot. Right. So you got to be able to look at those. Those are two key things, along with the coaching staffs and everything else. But those are two key things that a lot of people don't look at. They just look at, oh, LSU, Alabama offered me, I'm going to go there. Right. No, it doesn't work like that, and then they end up transferring down. So
more times than not. Like, right. I can't tell you. I mean, I'll never, like, in this kind of situation, I'll never name names, but I've talked to countless kids, you know, like off the record, that say, you know, man, they offer me, I can probably go there and play as a freshman, but that school not big enough for me. And I'm like, what? I'm like, all right, so you're going to go to this bigger school and just kind of, like, you know, like mosey around towards maybe the bottom of the depth chart. Like, not denying your talent, but like you said, there are guys that have been in these schools, you know, 2 and 3 years. They know the system, and they're not trying to be outdone by a freshman. So you're fighting an uphill battle. So, you know, I think at some point, and not just kids down here, but just people in general, like, at some point you have to be real with yourself and say, hey, like, what's the best situation for me? You know, from a on-field standpoint, from an academic standpoint, you know, where do I have the best opportunity to grow as a person, you know?
And don't let your family influence your decision. A college decision is the biggest decision you're gonna make in your young life. So don't let your uncle come in your ear and be like, boy, go here. And then your other uncle from the other side of the family come in your ear and be like, boy, it's your decision. You need to weigh your options and see, you know, and make that decision for yourself, because you're the one who has to go there. You're the one who has to live there for 4 years. You're the one that's got to play for that coach for 4 years. So make the best decision for you and your future, because a lot of kids aren't looking at where they're going to be when they're 25. They just thinking about the now. But the decision that you're making now will set up where you will be when you 25.
So when you were coming out of high school, you know, like you said, you might have family members in your ear saying, you know, boy, go here. You know, somebody else may say, you know, man, look, go here. Like, is that something that you dealt with personally when you coming out of high school? Or?
Not really. My family was very supportive of any decision that I made. Okay. So it was really my decision. And when I got the opportunity to go to Southern, my grandparents went to Southern. Okay. So I knew I grew up being a Southern fan. So when I got the opportunity to go to Southern, I jumped on it. Right. And like I said, it was a blessing. It was the best decision I made.
Was it a fairly easy decision for you, or like, was it?
Yeah. It was definitely easy. You know, all of us in that era had schools looking at us. And it didn't matter what school was looking at me, Jackson State, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
When Southern, if I, I knew I wasn't going to LSU or anything like that.
Right.
So when Southern gave me the opportunity, I jumped.
You jumped on it. Yeah, like it wasn't nothing.
Yeah, I jumped on it, and a lot of us did. Jordan played receiver with me. It was 5 of us that were seniors. Larry Moore went to Alcorn. Jordan went to Tulane. Ricky Joseph went to Mississippi College. So all of us had an opportunity to go play ball.
Right.
And from that year, you had Keenan Canty the next year go play for Colorado. Neil Randall and Tonka George were right there under us.
Yeah.
Along with Tuna, Jarrell Bennett, who ended up going to Arizona.
Okay.
So all those guys were up under my senior class.
Right.
And it really just built on from there to what you see today at Carl. But
a winning culture.
right, it wasn't any pressure. It was mainly my decision. And I tell my kids now, don't let your people pressure you. Make your decision for you. No matter what school I was at, if I was at Carl or if I'm at Carl, it's your decision. You have an opportunity, you make the best one for you. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But we regroup, and then we try and make another decision that's going to be best for them. And hopefully that's the last one.
Right. Mm-hmm. So like you said, so sometimes when you see a kid, like when you give that advice, and all kids try their best to listen to their coaches, their families, and whatnot. But like you say, at the end of the day, it's a really hard decision, especially at that point in your life. So when you see a kid kind of struggling with, what should I do? Where should I go? Like, what kind of further advice do you kind of give them, or like, what kind of words of encouragement? I know you personally don't, really have kids influence them to lean to a certain school, but like, what do you tell them to kind of ease their mind, like help make the decision for them easier, like when it's,
Basically, if we have an opportunity, we're going to go visit the school. So you see the environment that you're going to be in. A lot of kids make decisions without going and see the environment they're going to be in first.
That's a big no-no.
That's a big thing that you need to do. You need to go and see the environment that you'll be living in. What do they have to offer? And then secondly, I tell them what they need to know. Recruiting is really a game.
Yeah.
You really trying to finesse the kid to come to your school.
Mm-hmm.
You're telling them this, you're telling them, and then when the kid signs and gets on campus, is totally different than what you told me. So letting them know that during the recruiting process, from my side, telling them, look, they telling you this, but they really gonna want you to be this, this, and that. Examples: when you go to college, you're a big time recruit, and you're going to a major Power 5 conference.
Right.
They're not going to spend time with you, molding you into the type of player that they believe is elite. So coming out of high school, you may be elite in your parish, you may be elite in your town, no matter where you're from.
Yeah.
But when you get to college, you're back square one.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of kids, I'll go to a camp or Rivals or any one of those camps and see these guys that they have ranked 5-star, 4-star, and I'm looking at them, and they can't run, they can't break down, they can't do much athletically.
I remember, not to cut you off, but I remember I was at a Tulane camp maybe 2 years ago, and I think that might have been one of the first times I met you, and you kind of broke that down to me at that point. Like, you saw a couple of players who were, from the region, like not necessarily in New Orleans, but like just from like Mississippi, Texas, other parts of Louisiana, Arkansas, whatever the case is. And like a lot of these players were like, highly touted, highly ranked, and you would see them run, or like you would see them like run routes or break down, and you were like, he ain't got it.
Yeah, stiff in the hips. It's really I'm trying to think of the word. It's a publicity stunt.
Mm-hmm.
So you got these kids thinking that they're more than what they are, and they're not being coached where they are to be better. You tell them different terminology, they don't know what you're talking about. You tell them how to, for example, receive a play. Drop your hips, sink your hips, pump your arms, get out your break. They don't know how to do that, but they're a 4-star. So they go to Alabama, and now that you got them on campus, because what you've been seeing is highlights.
Right.
You're seeing highlights.
Right.
Which,
they call highlights for a reason.
Right, they're going to be your best plays.
Yeah.
And, these kids are making spectacular plays, but when you get them in front of you and you're trying to coach them, they don't have it. So you're not trying to give it to them, you're expecting them to come in and already have it.
Right.
So one thing you gotta tell a prospect or one of your players that's being recruited, you want to go to college and have it. Mm-hmm. Because at a Power 5 school, they're not gonna sit there and babysit you. No. Because the next year they're just gonna recruit somebody else to replace you.
Yeah. Right. And then, like you said, at that point, you're gonna be transferring out, coming back home or going to a smaller school or a JUCO, whatever the case may be.
Right.
So, like getting back to his original point, choose a school that's the best fit for you. Like at the end of the day, nobody knows you like you know yourself. So you can't make these decisions based on just this the biggest school. I might get the most exposure here. Mm-hmm. Which I'm not saying that's not a factor at all.
Right.
But
that's definitely a factor.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to be with the best facilities. You want to be able to wear the gear. You want to be able to, live in the best dorms. You want
all that.
Everybody want. I want that.
Yeah.
Right now,
right,
if
right.
I was playing, I would want that same thing.
Definitely.
You got to take all that into account. Don't get blinded by the light. Don't get blinded by the light.
Because it would eat you up. It would eat you up and suck you out. Now
right.
I've seen it. Like I seen it.
You gotta be able to read the fine print. Gotta be able to read the fine print.
Man, Coach O got some jewels in here, man. So before we get up out of here, man, I've been on the West Bank a couple of times. I see that beautiful new structure over there on the West Bank for college. Right. So have you been in it yet? Or?
Haven't been in it yet. I've heard positive things about it. It should be completed probably in the next 2 weeks. We scheduled before all this virus things kicked off. This was the last year in the building at 3332 Huntley Drive. We were able to send it out the right way with another championship. And we blessed to be able to be moving into this new building off General Maya, multi-million-dollar complex.
Yeah, I've seen some pictures of it.
It's beautiful. It's definitely not
once.
It's definitely not going to be the same. A lot of kids on the team are kind of iffy. They see the new building and they're like, oh, that's beautiful, but the hall is not going to feel the same. Yeah. So right now we're dealing with that. But once we move into the building, whenever they allow us to move into the building, I haven't seen I saw a picture of the weight room the other day. It's phenomenal. No weights in it yet, but the structure of it, just how big the size is, 10 times bigger than the one that we have now at the old building. We're supposed to be having a turf field in the back. Oh, wow. Yeah, a turf field in the back with just some stands for JV games and things like that. So it's going to be beautiful for the kids and for the future kids that enroll into the school for years to come. That's going to be big time. And I didn't get to ask you also, like you mentioned with the coronavirus, with everything going around right now and, social distancing being, real prevalent, what are you and some of the other guys on the coaching staff doing to kind of keep these kids involved and engaged and kind of staying in contact with them and whatnot? We're definitely making sure, because school is still going on, we are definitely making sure that they're continuing with their schoolwork. Each coach is responsible for their position group. Okay. So myself and Coach Mike, we are in contact with the receivers, making sure that they continually doing their work, checking up on them with their grades and things like that, then checking up on their welfare and well-being as a whole with their families and things like that, because a lot of people, a lot of coworkers that I have been experiencing a lot of death because of this virus. So just making sure that their families and things are okay. And then you got some meeting up at the levee and doing levee work. And then I myself might meet up with some of my guys at a location that I will not disclose.
Yeah, right. Yeah. We're gonna keep that talk. Yeah.
Right, might meet up with them and just, go over just some basic things for a little while, and then just talk.
Yeah.
Just talk is always. This is one big thing that Coach Bryce preaches, is you got to reach them before you teach them. So just
I like that.
Yeah, just building the relationships with the kids. No matter how long you've been with them, just continually building those relationships with the kids goes a long way into the success and mold of the program.
Right.
You build these relationships with these kids, they'll want to run through a wall for you.
Definitely.
And that's the same thing on any level of football, park ball, high school, college, pro. If you love your coach, then you want to perform and do well for them. So,
Right.
That's one of the big pillars of the program, and we continually doing that today and every day to continue to build those relationships.
Obviously, it's working.
Yeah,
it's working.
It is. That the
Full
blueprint.
titles in the road.
The blueprint.
Yeah, man. So, if you got anything else you want to add, now's the time. That I didn't get to ask you about. You want add anything in?
I just want to give a appreciation to Coach Addison over at Carver, who gave me an opportunity to start coaching.
Okay.
He blessed me with an opportunity, him and Big Linares L. Page.
Yeah.
Blessed me with the opportunity to get my feet wet in the business. And I'm forever grateful for those two guys giving me the opportunity to do that, along with Coach Bryce for helping me to further my career in coaching and hopefully in the future.
Right. So without further ado, man, it's been a pleasure, Coach O.
No problem.
Yeah, man.
No problem.
All right, man. Peace out.